Hello, and welcome to 12-Minute Meditation, a weekly podcast from mindful.org that offers mindfulness meditations backed by neuroscience. If you've been practicing, you know that 12 minutes of meditation a day can yield benefits like increased attention, focus, creativity, calm, resilience, and compassion. The latest scientific research supports this knowledge. So, on this podcast, we invite you to do your 12-minute practice with guided meditations from today's leading mindfulness experts. There's a new practice each week and a new way to experience some of those benefits day to day. I'm Chelsea Arsenal, Director of Advertising at mindful.org. And this week we join Nate Klemp, who will introduce us to a unique 3-stage meditation practice aimed at broadening and deepening our understanding of our own minds. Picture your mind as a flashlight, narrowly focused on a single point. This practice, from flashlight to floodlight, is about learning to widen that beam, shedding light on a much larger area. Nate will guide us through the essential aspects of an open mind, meta-awareness, an approach of acceptance, and the expansion of our mental scope. Imagine first focusing on the intricate details of a single tree. This is meta-awareness. Then zooming out to appreciate the forest it's a part of. This is approach and acceptance. And eventually seeing the entire landscape that surrounds it. This is expanding the scope. Nate will guide us through these 3 stages, illustrating how a few daily minutes can sharpen our mental clarity and openness. Nate is also offering 20 free copies of his new book, Open, Living with an Expansive Mind in a Distracted World, to our listeners. This is a fantastic opportunity to dive deeper into mindfulness and expansion. To win a copy of Nate's new book, visit the show notes of this episode and enter by March 15th. Nate Klemp is co-author of The 80-80 Marriage, a new model for a happier, stronger relationship, is a former philosophy professor and a founding partner at Mindful. He co-authored Start Here, a New York Times best-selling guide to practical mindfulness. You can subscribe to 12-Minute Meditation while you're on mindful.org or wherever you find your favorite podcast. And if you're moved to leave us a review, we'd be grateful, and so will other listeners. See, your review helps them to decide whether 12-minute meditation is for them. But for now, for you, here's Nate Klemp.
Hi, my name is Nate Klemp. I'm a founding partner at Mindful and the co-author of Start Here and the 80-80 Marriage. So today I want to give you a practice that's really about working through 3 different techniques that allow us to experience in a single practice the full range of mindfulness practice. What I mean by that is that there are really 2 fundamental capacities of the mind. Amishi Jha, who's a professor of neuroscience at the University of Miami, calls these the flashlight of awareness and the floodlight of awareness. So if you think about it, the flashlight of our mind is really that capacity that we have to focus intently on a single thing. It's our ability to concentrate, to narrow the gaze of our awareness on a single thing. Super valuable. Something we all want to cultivate so that we can be more productive in our lives, but also so that we can cut through all of the crazy distractions of the modern world. So that's flashlight. But then there's also this capacity of the floodlight, the open, wider scope of awareness that allows us to, instead of focusing in on one small area of our life or one small task, to see the bigger picture. And it turns out that this is an incredibly important capacity. When it comes to things like divergent thinking, which is the essential skill of being creative and coming up with new ideas, focusing really intently is not the right capacity that we want to tap for that. It's really this floodlight, wider awareness that we want to cultivate in those moments. So the practice we're going to do today, I almost think of this as like an ice cream cone. We're going to start at the tip of the cone. We're going to start with very small, focused awareness. And then we're slowly going to expand as we move throughout the cone, as the cone gets wider, to something that's more like wide open, floodlight, expansive awareness. And one of the reasons for doing a practice like this, where we start narrow and then we slowly expand toward this more floodlight, wider, open awareness, is that if we just start with that floodlight, wide open awareness at the beginning, it can be very difficult. The mind can just kind of wander away. So sometimes it's helpful to harness the mind, to stabilize the mind through one of these practices that allows us to cultivate focus, and then to slowly drop that intention of focus, opening up this ability to see the bigger picture. So that's the practice we're going to do today, and I'll guide you through all three of those stages. Okay, so let's begin seated. Straight spine ideally, finding a comfortable seat wherever you are. For this practice, I'm going to recommend eyes open, but if you want to do it with your eyes closed, totally fine. I might also recommend orienting yourself towards something that's somewhat interesting in the visual field. And now take a moment just to relax. Just remind yourself that for the next 10 or 15 minutes, there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to text. You don't even have to keep track of time. I've got that. All you have to do is relax and, to the best of your ability, follow these instructions. So we're going to begin with a focused attention practice. We're going to begin by counting each breath. This might be the narrowest, almost remedial practice, but it's a practice that I start with at the beginning of every single mindfulness session. And the way we'll do this is when you inhale, count 1. When you exhale, count 2. Inhale, 3. Exhale, 4. We're going to see if we can make it all the way to 20. Once you've counted to 20, and by the way, if you didn't make it to 20, no problem. When I do this in my own practice, if I don't make it to 20, I just go back and do it again until my mind is stable enough to count. But now we're all going to shift our attention toward the sensations of breath, another classic focused attention practice. So bringing your attention to the sensations of each inhale and exhale at the nose. We're no longer counting, we're just following these sensations. We're not manipulating or forcing the breath or trying to slow it down. Just letting the breath be as it is. Approaching it from this place of curiosity and interest. Letting the breath serve as our anchor to the present moment. And when your mind wanders away from the breath, which it inevitably will, that's not a problem. Just notice. And then gently bring your attention back to the present moment sensations of each inhale and exhale. So we'll just stay with these sensations of breath for the next 30 seconds or so, to the best of your ability. And now we're going to drop a little bit of this focused attention. So give your mind a break and a rest from focusing on these sensations of breath. And instead, bring your attention to this spirit of allowing. Just allow everything that's happening, the sounds, the sights, the sensations, the emotions, allow them to be. And it's almost as though as we let go of some of that focus, we now bring in more of this relaxed spirit of allowing. We're trading focus for letting go. And in so doing, the mind is slowly widening its scope. We're getting our first taste of the floodlight of awareness. If difficult sounds or sensations arise, you might notice the tendency to want to change them, to get rid of. But just come back to this receptive, open spirit of allowing. Resting your mind in whatever's happening, whatever sensations, thoughts, emotions, sounds. And now let's move one step closer toward this place of fully open floodlight style awareness. So letting go now almost entirely of any effort to concentrate or focus your mind. See what happens when you begin to just see the big view through your eyes, seeing whatever's in front of you in panoramic awareness, as though you were standing on the top of a mountain or lying in a chase lounge on the beach, totally relaxed, just gazing at whatever happens to be before you. We can relax into the same expansion when it comes to sound. Hearing the sounds nearby, the sound of your breath, the sound in the room, but also expanding to hear sounds happening off in a distance outside. Feeling the sensations in your body. And dropping any attempt to try to force this experience, just totally relaxing into this vast floodlight of awareness. Seeing what life looks like from this bigger view. So let's spend about another minute or so just enjoying this wide open state of mind. Totally receptive and open to anything that arises. No attempt to change anything. Just being with life as it is. Seeing life as it is. Hearing life as it is. If you notice yourself trying, efforting, forcing, just relax. Drop the effort. Drop the technique. Just be wherever you are. Let's take just a few final breaths. And then before we fully come back, just notice any subtle changes that may have happened in your mind or your body as we moved from narrow focused attention to wide open, expansive awareness. And now just slowly come back to where we already are, right here. So that was a way to practice that transition from flashlight, focused awareness, to floodlight, more expansive awareness. And one of the reasons why I think that's so important for us in this modern age is that many of us spend most of our time building this muscle of focused attention. either at work or in our life or on our devices, we are constantly training that skill of focusing tight. And so that's certainly something we want to get better at and we want to cultivate. But I would argue that we're underusing this other capacity of seeing the big picture, of thinking creatively and divergently and seeing the possibilities that are there for us in our lives and in the world. And this practice is a way of, in just a few minutes, making that transition where we stabilize the mind through focused attention, and then we slowly broaden it through a more expansive practice of awareness. So if this is something you want to build into the rest of your life, and I encourage you to do that, one of the ways you can do this is either formally by doing a practice like this each day, where you start with something like counting breaths, very focused. Then you move to focused attention on the breath. Then you move to just allowing whatever happens to happen, resting in awareness. And then finally expanding the scope of awareness itself. Those are the key stages of the practice that we just walked through. You can also do this more informally. When you catch yourself in that really tight, contracted state of mind, you can just see what happens when you allow yourself to relax and rest into the bigger view. So I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 12-Minute Meditation from Mindful and mindful.org. I hope you enjoyed practicing with us. We'll be back in 7 days with another meditation for you.